Welcome to Conversations. I'm Suresh Kochar. There is a small island at the edge of India that most people have never heard of. An island covered in dense rainforest, home to endangered wildlife, home to some of the oldest indigenous communities in the world. But today, this remote piece of island has become one of the most strategically important locations on Earth. Why? Because just a few hundred kilometers from here lies one of the world's most important maritime choke points, the Strait of Malacca. Every year, nearly one-third of the global shipping and more than a quarter of the world's oil supplies pass through this narrow corridor. Control the routes around it, and you influence the global trade itself. But this story didn't begin today. More than 1,000 years ago, the Chola Empire understood that modern superpowers still understand the sea is the power. Under Rajaraja Chola and Rajendra Chola, India projected influence across the Bay of Bengal, deep into the southeast of Asia. Their fleets dominated maritime trade and transformed the ocean into a highway of prosperity. For centuries after them, empires competed for the same waters. Arab traders crossed these routes. Portuguese fleets enforced monopolies. The British Royal Navy eventually turned the Bay of Bengal into a strategic stronghold. And now, history appears to be circling back. Today, Great Nicobar stands at the center of an ambitious 81,000 crore rupee vision. A deep water transshipment port, an international airport, a smart city, new energy infrastructure. Supporters call it the gateway to the future. Critics call it an ecological gamble. What happens here could reshape India's role in the global trade for generations. But it could also transform one of the most fragile ecosystems on the planet. This is the story of Great Nicobar Project. And the question at its heart is simple. Can a nation build its future without sacrificing what makes it unique? To understand why Great Nicobar matters, we need to understand geography, because geography is the reason why this project exists. At first glance, Great Nicobar appears isolated. In reality, it sits beside one of the busiest maritime corridors on Earth. For planners in New Delhi, that location represents an opportunity that comes once in a century. The first advantage is depth. Galathea Bay naturally exceeds 20 meters in depth, allowing some of the world's largest cargo ships to dock without extensive dredging. The second advantage is economic. Today, much of India's cargo is routed through foreign transshipment hubs such as Colombo and Singapore before reaching the global markets. Supporters argue that every diverted shipment represents revenue, influence, and strategic leverage flowing elsewhere. The goal of Great Nicobar is simple: keep more of that value within India. By 2040, projections suggest that the port could become a major transshipment center, handling cargo not only from India, but from across the region. But this isn't just about ships. The master plan includes business districts, logistics centers, tourism zones, and urban infrastructure, all designed to support a new economics ecosystem. Officials envision thousands of jobs and an entirely new growth corridor in the Bay of Bengal. And then there is a strategic dimension. The Bay of Bengal is increasingly important to India's maritime security. Military analysts often describe the region as a critical underwater domain where submarine activity is closely monitored. For India's defense planners, infrastructure in Great Nicobar is not merely economic, it's also strategic. And that combination of commerce and security is what makes the project so significant. But a project of this massive size cannot be built out of thin air. It requires altering one of the most ecologically fragile and anthropologically sensitive places on Earth. The environmental cost is heavily debated. The project requires diverting roughly 130 square kilometers of pristine rainforest, putting between 7 lakh and 9 lakh trees on the line. Galathea Bay is also the primary nesting ground for the endangered giant leatherback sea turtle. Dredging the seabed risks wiping out the nesting sites and damaging the ancient coral reef ecosystems. And then there is a human cost. Great Nicobar is home to the Shompen and the Nicobarese people. While the government explicitly states that no tribal habitations will be displaced and has actually expanded the total tribal reserve land, critics remain deeply alarmed. They argue that 3 lakh outsiders to an island populated by just a few local thousands risk irreversible cultural erosion. As resistance mounted, a fascinating shift occurred. Official records show that while government appraisal committees originally questioned the port's commercial viability, the Ministry of Defense stepped in, officially designating Great Nicobar as a strategic project. This reclassification shielded vital blueprints from public view until the 3/4 banner of national security. Why? Because regional competition is moving at a breakneck speed. History has shown us what happens when a nation hesitates in this race. Look at Egypt with the Suez Canal, or Panama with its famous crossing. For decades before these engineering marvels were built, other regional powers debated, delayed, and doubted. But the nations that finally took the leap and secured the choke points permanently reshaped the global trade, securing that economic sovereignty for a century. Our regional competitors understand this historical truth, and they aren't waiting around. Singapore is currently building the Tuas Mega Project to handle an unimaginable 65 million cargo units in that port. Meanwhile, Thailand is advancing its Kra Isthmus land bridge project to bypass the Malacca Straits entirely. If India does not establish a dominant transshipment hub at the exact latitude right now, the window of opportunity will close forever. To India's defense establishment, living Great Nicobar as an untouched paradise is a luxury competing superpower cannot afford. In the end, Great Nicobar is more than a port. It's about a question every developing nation eventually faces. How do you pursue growth while protecting what already exists? Can economic ambition and environmental stewardship truly coexist? Supporters believe Great Nicobar can become proof that they can. Critics remain unconvinced. The answer will not be found in policy papers or project reports. It will be written here, on these shores, in these forests. This is India proving to the world that a nation can achieve the status of a fully developed Viksit Bharat while remaining deeply committed to environmental stewardship. It represents a legacy where the world's largest cargo ships dock at a cutting-edge terminal, while just a few kilometers away, the endangered leatherback turtles still safely nest on the untouched shores. Great Nicobar is not a gamble of green versus greed. It's a promise that a country can secure its borders, anchor its economic future, and still keep its soul. The anchor has been dropped. The future is being built, and the world is watching. Thank you for watching. Jai Hind.